Hey everyone! Spoiler alert! A Figma file stuffed with buttons is a UI kit, not a design system. Treating a static toolbox like a living ecosystem leads to massive headaches. Stick around as we demystify the core architectural differences between the two. Let's dive in.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the great UI confusion, break down the anatomy of both UI kits and design systems, clearly explain the key differences, give you the lowdown on exactly when to use which, and finally, look at how to evolve your design process.
All right, Section 1, the great UI confusion, mistaking kits for systems.
You know, if you've ever joined a new product team, you've probably heard this exact phrase. Oh, don't worry, we already have a design system. But then you open up the files, and it's literally just a single Figma file stuffed with buttons and input fields. Spoiler alert, that is not a design system. It's a UI kit. Treating a UI kit as a fully-fledged design system is such a massive misconception, and it's exactly what leads to those huge headaches down the road when devs need reliable specs or when multiple teams are trying to scale the product together. Moving on to Section 2, let's look at the anatomy of a UI kit, which is basically a static design toolbox. So what actually is a UI kit? Well, by definition, it's a specialized collection of pre-made design artifacts. Think of it like a static box of beautifully crafted Lego pieces. It gives designers a massive jumpstart because it's got all these elements optimized for a specific environment. You get that visual harmony right out of the gate. But, and this is key, remember the word static. It's a ready-made toolbox meant to speed up your initial design phases, but it completely leaves the decisions of how everything fits together entirely up to you.
If you pop open that toolbox, what's inside? Well, you've got your branding elements, like colors and typography. You've got form elements, buttons, cards, navigation, pagination, the whole shebang. A solid UI kit is even going to include various states for those components. You know, what a button looks like on hover or when it's disabled. It provides the exact building blocks you need so you aren't starting from scratch every single time, which obviously makes for incredibly speedy design.
All right, Section 3, the anatomy of a design system. And notice the shift here to a living ecosystem. Right, so here is where we upgrade from a static toolbox to a living, breathing ecosystem. Like design systems expert Nathan Curtis explains, a system is a living, funded product with an actual roadmap. It is absolutely not just a Figma file you hand off to a dev and walk away from. Yes, it includes a library of visual styles and components, but it pairs them with strictly documented guidelines, principles, and, crucially, actual code. It's basically the master instruction manual for your entire organization. To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at the three-layer mental model. Right at the base, you have design tokens. These are the raw, named variables for things like color or spacing. Just above that are styles, which are essentially the human-readable rules for applying those tokens. And sitting at the very top are components, the reusable UI elements built using those tokens and styles. Now here is the absolute magic of this setup. If you change a single design token, say you tweak your brand's primary blue, that update automatically cascades globally across every single component and platform that references it. It's a total game changer. And this whole concept is brilliantly illustrated by Brad Frost's famous atomic design metaphor. Think of your system starting with atoms, your basic colors, fonts, or maybe a single input field. Combine a few atoms like an input field plus a button, and boom, you get a molecule, a functional search bar. Group those molecules together and you build organisms, entire headers, or complex product grids. It's a super clear way to visualize how base tokens and styles organically build up into a totally consistent, complex interface. Okay, Section 4. Key differences explained. The what versus the how and why. So this is where we really draw a line in the sand. You absolutely need to know exactly where the UI kit ends and the design system begins. A UI kit tells you what to use. It's an artifact, almost like a museum piece. Its entire focus on visual elements and pure speed. A design system, though, that tells you how and why to use those elements. It is a living entity that needs constant maintenance and governance. So just remember, kits are all about the what, while systems are all about the how, the why, and the scalable code that actually powers them. Let's dig a bit deeper into how these differences actually impact your day-to-day workflow. Look at the scope. UI kits are for specific, immediate tasks. Design systems? They cover the entire interface, the UX, and the underlying code base. When we talk customization, kits are great for quick tweaks, but you do risk ending up with a kind of generic-looking product. Systems provide a deeply tailored framework. And perhaps most importantly, there's complexity. UI kits usually completely lack built-in accessibility rules or real code integration. Design systems explicitly standardize both of those critical things right from day one.
Which brings us to Section 5, when to use which. Choosing the right tool for the job.
All right, you should absolutely reach for a UI kit when you're building an MVP or maybe a quick marketing site. If speed is literally your absolute top priority over long-term scalability, the UI kit is your best friend. It's also perfect if you're flying solo or working in a tiny team of maybe 2 or 3 people where you don't need all that heavy shared documentation. And for client projects where the final deliverable is just a standalone design, UI kits are hands down the undisputed champions of the short-term sprint.
On the flip side, you really have to invest in a design system when you're building enterprise products, complex SaaS platforms, or interconnected app suites. If your consistency has to hold up across dozens, or maybe even hundreds of screens, you need a system, no question. This is especially true if you're scaling across iOS, Android, and web all at the same time, or managing a massive cross-functional team. Yes, it's a heavy upfront investment, but it pays off exponentially when scaling complex products over the long haul. Because trust me, the cost of inconsistency compounds really, really fast.
Finally, Section 6, evolving your design process, bridging the gap from kit to system. So what if you started with a UI kit, but now you're realizing, we actually need a system? The good news is you can pragmatically bridge that gap. You do not have to start from scratch. Step 1, audit what you already have in your kit. Just look for the patterns. Step 2, define your visual foundations and translate them into those powerful design tokens we talked about earlier. Step 3 is to structurally rebuild your components, giving them defined states and behaviors. Step 4 is absolutely crucial. Add robust documentation explaining the how and why. Step 5, sync these designs with your dev code so you have a single source of truth. And lastly, Step 6, establish governance.
And I really want to emphasize that final step. Governance is absolutely critical. A design system must have an owner. Now, depending on your org size, that might look a bit different. It could be solitary, where just one team dictates the system. It could be federated, with representatives from different product teams managing it collaboratively. Or it could be centralized, with a dedicated design systems team serving everybody else. Honestly, the specific structure matters way less than the simple fact that someone is officially responsible for keeping the system healthy.
Because if you don't have governance, you run straight into the exact problem highlighted in our source material. If every whim results in a brand new pattern, the design system will become a bloated and unwieldy Wild West. And believe me, nobody wants to be the sheriff of that town. Strict governance, cross-disciplinary communication, and really clear contribution models are absolutely vital. That's how you ensure the system stays a unified tool, instead of just slowly reverting back into a chaotic folder of random design assets.
So that brings us to the ultimate question you really have to sit down and ask yourself and your team. Are you building for speed today, or are you scaling for tomorrow? If it's speed, grab that UI kit and get to work. But if you're scaling for tomorrow, it is time to start laying the groundwork for a true design system. Honestly, assess your product's maturity right now, choose your tools wisely, and I promise you'll save yourself a world of friction down the line. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building brilliant things.